Got it. All right, welcome to another big edition of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you along for the conversation. A warning to you. The Steve Gruber Show often results in extended periods of American pride, American optimism, and uncontrollable enthusiasm in this country's future, kicking off the live broadcast day on Real America's Voice, MTN, and reaching a global audience. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, southern border apprehensions have plummeted more than 90% from 1 year ago in April of 24 to last month. Number two, GLP-1 is one of the most popular weight loss prescriptions on the market today, and it may have other remarkable benefits, including dropping the risk of cancer in half. And number three, we've got a lot to talk about, but first, a live shot. Donald Trump is in Saudi Arabia this hour, greeting dignitaries. Part of his entourage, Sam Altman, just went through Elon Musk as their big business is along with Donald Trump on this visit to Saudi Arabia. And I'm also told that 25 years on, they will discuss 9/11 and the need to eradicate radicalism, to eliminate terrorism in this world. We'll see how it all plays out. Donald Trump on the first of his three-leg trip. He will go from Saudi Arabia to UAE to Qatar. And there it is, a live shot of Donald Trump greeting the Saudi royals, and the Saudi royals leading and meeting his entourage. All right. We'll keep an eye on that. See if anything big happens. We'll keep you up to date. Speaking of health care costs have been the top driver of Bidenflation in recent years. American consumers pay significantly higher drug prices. Why? Because Big Pharma offsets the lower prices negotiated by European single-payer healthcare systems. This parasitic relationship has let European countries keep drug prices low in their socialized systems, while the United States subsidizes pharmaceutical research and development. But President Trump says no more, making this groundbreaking announcement. Listen to this.
But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what, for the same drug, that what we pay many, many times more for. And will no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced Big Pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. And the drug companies actually told me stories. It was just brutal how they forced them. And we are going to pay the lowest price there is in the world. We will get whoever is paying the lowest price, that's the price that we're going to get. So remember that. So we're no longer paying 10 times more than another country. Whoever is paying the lowest price, we will look at that price and we will say that's the price we're going to pay. Most favored nations, that's what it is. One breast cancer drug costs Americans over $16,000 per bottle. But the same drug from the same factory, manufactured by the same company, is 1/6 that price in Australia and 1/10 that price in Sweden. 1/10 for the identical product.
There you have it. Donald Trump's latest executive order steals, by the way, a card from Bernie Sanders' deck, who said he would lower health care by 50%. Well, the latest executive order directs the Department of Health and Human Services to ensure that U.S. drug prices match the lowest prices paid by peer nations, potentially cutting costs up to 80% within 30 days. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. must set clear price reduction targets for drug manufacturers. If, quote, adequate progress is not made within 6 months, HHS can impose MFN, most favored nation pricing, through rulemaking. He's not the only one undertaking the issue. The U.S. Trade Representative and Secretary of Commerce has been directed to address foreign practices that undercut U.S. prices, aiming to equalize global pricing. And the order expands importation of lower-cost drugs from developed nations beyond Canada, directing the Department of Justice and Federal Trade Commission to enforce actions against anti-competitive practices that keep U.S. prices high. This is all big stuff, folks. The executive order also encourages programs allowing American patients to buy drugs directly from manufacturers at MFN prices, bypassing middlemen like pharmacy benefit managers. If the first several months of Donald Trump's presidency have taught us anything, it's that the courts love to block the president's agenda. There's a good chance they'll try to throw up obstacles against this, too, and try to make you continue to pay more. It's going to be key for Congress to pass this order as legislation if we want to stick, and if we want it to stick. Joe Biden had 11 bills signed before the end of his first 100 days, with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats running the House. This time around, Republicans have sent five bills to the president's desk. Now, having said that, the one big bill is going to encompass a lot of things. But we need our elected officials to get on board and get things done. This is an issue that Democrats have been campaigning on for decades. And did they do anything about it? No. No. Now's a great chance for them to back something they say they care about and make a rare show of bipartisanship that could go a long way in healing the toxic political landscape they've helped create. Is that too much to ask? I get the feeling they'd say yes. Meanwhile, the world's two largest economies are putting a pause on retaliatory tariffs. That's right. President Trump's done it again. After years of Biden's weakness on China, Trump just showed the world what real leadership looks like. Here he is again. Listen.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the largest structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
Yeah. In a major win for American workers and business, Trump's team struck the deal with China to dramatically lower tariffs on both sides, at least for the next 90 days. The U.S. cutting those tariffs, as you heard, on Chinese goods is going to go from 145% down to 30%. That's a 115% cut. China slashing its duties on our products from 125% to just 10%. That's massive. And guess what? The markets loved it. The Dow shot up over 1,000 points. Retailers, tech, stocks, you name it, all flying high. And today they're going to open a bit higher again. This comes at the perfect time, right before back to school and the holidays. You can thank Trump for that. He's playing smart, using leverage to reset the table and force China to treat American businesses fairly. He's even open to meeting with President Xi to hammer out a final deal on our terms. This is a 180 from how the Biden administration handled China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was the one in Geneva carrying out the trade talks with Chinese officials over the weekend, 2 intense days. He revealed this. Listen.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we already have a large framework.
All right, we're going to keep an eye on Donald Trump live in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this morning. As we go to break here, he's meeting with all the Saudi dignitaries as he has landed there for the first of a 3-leg trip in the Middle East. This is The Steve Gruber Show. Quick dip in live to look at President Trump. He's on the ground in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, beginning in what is the first leg of a three-leg trip through the Middle East. He'll be in Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, meeting with dignitaries from both his entourage and the House of Saud there in Saudi Arabia. We'll keep an eye on that. If any news breaks, of course, we'll bring it to you here first. China, meanwhile, ignored Joe Biden, as you recall, because they knew he was weak. And for all the terrible things and mud thrown at Donald Trump, there is not a single world leader who would call him weak. They might call him a lot of things. Weak is not one of them. Meanwhile, another piece of good news, because it just keeps on coming. The last American hostage believed to be alive has come home from Gaza. Here's hostage Eden Alexander's mom getting to speak with him for the first time in 500 days. Before being reunited with him, Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, hands her the phone.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! He done? He done? אתה בחוץ, נשמה שלי, אתה בחוץ.
You don't have to speak her language to understand the joy and relief she is experiencing. Thanks to President Trump and his team once again. This is what he promised to do, and he's officially delivered on that promise again. It's been a monumental weekend for peace. If Trump actually manages to kickstart real peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, put an end to the violence in Gaza, and help keep things calm between Pakistan and India, then I'd say he's more than earned that coveted Nobel Peace Prize. He should have earned it in his first term, around the Abraham Accords, but the Nobel Committee clearly has something against Donald Trump. I wouldn't put it past them to continue ignoring the massive steps he's made toward peace around the globe this time either. But President Trump doesn't do it for the accolades. He does it because it's the right thing to do. He's the man for the job. What do the Democrats have to offer? Weak, aimless, divisive messaging. Here's Representative Jasmine Crockett on what her party's plans are in their efforts to defeat Donald Trump. Listen.
It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear, because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate. So I can tell, and I can tell you, it's not a black person nor woman, okay?
Yeah. It's all about race with these folks. The party never learns. They think the only problem with their previous candidates were that they were women or they were black. So they think the fix is a safe white boy. They boil everything down to race and gender. It's unbelievable, but it's true and it's sad. It's going to continue costing them. Not that I mind, but I want to see a country as a whole that judges ideas, people, you name it, based on merit, not skin color or gender. Bill Maher, a raging liberal himself, agrees, says the party continues to dig its own grave. Listen to this.
Leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great. The Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party. Last election, it was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such, and now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children. The Democrats' problem is the energy of the parties with the young and the young are with the terrorists. That's not good. So talk to your children and remind them, you don't really want to live like your heroes in Hamas. All the shit you do all day, it was all made in America. Your smartphone, your Grubhub, your freedom to bitch about America, that's all American stuff. You tell your phone you want a milkshake and a guy brings it to your house.
Exactly right. He's right. Alyssa Slotkin's right. But they pledged their support to the wrong party. If President Trump continues to deliver wins like he has these last few days, and if Congress can actually do its job and codify some of these orders into law, the Democrat Party will be defunct, maybe forever, until they put America first. That'll be the day pigs fly, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure about that. Disappointing. Let's jump back. One quick shot of President Trump there in Saudi Arabia. This is what leadership looks like on the world stage, folks. There it is. The President of the United States meeting in Saudi Arabia. It's 6:20 something in the morning, Eastern Time. And there he is. Like he's had a full 8 hours of sleep. He never does. But that's what leadership looks like. That's what we traded in, by the way. Let's talk about your health for a moment. You could try a different route before you deal with Big Pharma in the first place. Did you know 60 million Americans have parasites? That's a frightening number, isn't it? And parasites. Ew. They secretly invade your body, wreaking havoc on your gut, energy level, and even your brain. In the mainstream medical system, they don't want you to think about this because one great cleanse can change your life, make you feel better. This is the hottest thing going right now. The Wellness Company has a solution for you. Ivermectin and mebendazole. FDA-approved parasite solutions now combined in just one cleanse. Just fill out a brief medical intake form and get your 3-month supply. Lots of parasite cleanses all over social media, but not the gold standard level. Make America Healthy Again is officially here, and the Wellness Company is making hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. All you have to do to get this, go to twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save $60 plus free shipping, so you'll save even more. Don't wait. Cleanse your body today. twc.health/Gruber. This is the hottest thing going, this parasite cleanse. And I'm waiting for mine. It's in the mail. Should be here any second now. And when it does, I'm going to tell you exactly how it works for me. There it is. twc.health/Gruber. Get the cleanse today. All right, we can take Donald Trump all the way into the break as we watch the president in Saudi Arabia greeting dignitaries there live as he is now in Riyadh. Pretty exciting stuff for this president as he is the global leader. Look at that. That's what strength and America First looks like, my friends. We'll take a break on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so the P. Diddy list is coming out, and oh boy. The P. Diddy, the depth of depravity. Pretty stunning when it comes to P. Diddy and some of the stuff that's coming out. His trial kicked off yesterday, by the way. They tried to he tried to get a plea deal. They said no dice. At these freak-off parties, he would direct the individuals to do certain things, forcing women to appear as though they were enjoying themselves. In one of the other, Cassie Ventura was there. Said Cassie and Diddy's relationship was abusive, and Diddy would become jealous when she was seen with another man. The defense, in their own opening statements, conceded to this jealousy, noting that jurors may think, wow, he's a really bad boyfriend. Well, if you're making people do things that I can't even describe on this program, yeah, he might be a bad boyfriend. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Capitalism has produced the greatest increase in human wealth, living standards, and overall flourishing. Good question. Ask 10 people to define it, you'll get 10 different answers. But do you really understand capitalism? Hillsdale College offering 40 free courses. Free on subjects like the Constitution, the Roman Republic, Genesis, and now understanding capitalism. It's great. Ivy and I were listening to this again over the weekend. It's just so well done. In just 7 short lectures, you'll learn about profit and loss, private property, and the rule of law, and why capitalism, at its core, is built not on greed, but on freedom and human nature. It's free, it's thoughtful, it's Hillsdale. Go right now to gruberforhillsdale.com to enroll. There's no cost, easy to get started. gruberforhillsdale.com for free, gruberforhillsdale.com. Coming up next, a man that may run for governor in California, Grant Cardone, American businessman, equity fund manager, a man with $4 billion under management. And a guy who says, look, California, it needs to be fixed. He's going to do a test run, I suppose. Hold some rallies, see if there's enthusiasm for the idea. We'll talk about it with Grant Cardone after the break here on The Steve Gruber Show. Welcome back to the program. Glad you're here for the conversation. My next guest is loud and proud, to say the least, Grant Cardone, CEO of Cardone Capital, Cardone Training Technologies, Cardone University, which I watch pretty much every day with my team now. It's part of our business training. I've gotten to know Grant pretty well over the last year. Grant, welcome back to the program.
Always good to be with you.
Nice to see you here. I want to ask about a couple of things you've put up on On X here in the last few days, you don't seem to be a big fan of Jerome Powell. And I bring that to your attention because you are in the real estate business primarily. And when interest rates are high, being in the real estate business is a little slower. And it would seem to me that Jerome Powell, that fancies himself as nonpartisan, continues to play politics. Look, the interest rates should come down because the inflation rate's 2.4%. Where am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Jerome Powell is an extension of those that want to punish the middle class and those that are anti-Trump and don't want to see progress in America first. Period. End of story. Like dead stop or full stop, as you say in your business, not a dead stop. And look, if you look back to COVID is invisible. Okay, the vaccine, the response, where it came from, all these things are invisible. When that finally wore off with the American public, then came the threat of inflation. Now, inflation was temporarily very, very real to a lot of people, but it was not because of banking or money or even printing. It was because of the supply chains had been jammed up for so much time, and people that wanted automobiles that had chips were willing to pay extra money for those. That problem is long gone now, okay? Now, the Democrats have been selling this inflation thing since they got done selling the COVID thing. And Jerome Powell is still talking about inflation when inflation, we are so far beyond this.
We really are.
Yeah, we're so far beyond, it's unbelievable.
You know, they keep selling that. They keep selling the Green New Deal, which has been an absolute abject failure on no matter what your metric is, jamming up American energy and productivity, and you couple it with high interest rates. I mean, that's stifling to the economy, period, right?
Yeah, well, but most importantly, Jerome Powell is hurting the middle class, the people that need to sell their home and go buy a new home. Can't do it because they're sitting on a 3% interest rate. That was the Trump era. And now having to look at a 7% mortgage rate. Home sales in this country are the lowest since 2008. That's almost 17 years.
And 2008, of course, was the great economic collapse, 2008 and 9. We were at the bottom of the market, right?
Exactly. And we're back to that today because mortgage rates are so high. And that is all on Jerome Powell, by the way. And this is why today Trump came out and called him a fool. He is a fool. But more importantly, kind of like the state of California, this is not incompetence. This is intentionally trying to undermine the Trump administration and America first and the middle class. The middle class is paying the price. If you're in the middle class, and by the way, I am a spokesman for the middle class. That's where I came from. It is a great 250 million strong in this country that are being punished by the central bank and the Fed getting involved in your money.
Yeah, every day. Meddling in our money, creating roadblocks and hurdles. Look, I know you're an optimist. I've seen you on the stage with some incredible people, whether it's Jimmy John or Martha Stewart, whatever. I've seen some great people around you. You are surrounded by optimists that have beaten the odds and become uber successful. But what about business today? Would you start a business in America today if you're 20 years old and you've got some gumption, you've got some go? Are you an optimist about America today, even despite these things?
Yeah, I am an optimist. Okay, if you're great, you're always going to be great, and if you're a master at your game, then you're always going to be paid extra to be a master. Everybody below great and mastership, though. I mean, if you're not going to learn how to be a sensei in the game you're doing, whether you're in the restaurant business, the plumbing business, chiropractor, dental, whatever it is you're doing. If you're not going to be a master of the game, you're going to be replaced by somebody that is, or you're going to be replaced by AI, something that's cheaper. Yeah. So I would not recommend to somebody to go start a business today. I'd go crawl into a business that is embedded and moving and successful, or I would go buy businesses that are failing that you could put better management in.
And run them properly. All right, fair enough. I knew you're an optimist, but I just wanted to give, we talk about a lot of things on this program that are serious. Sometimes we got to give them a little bit of cheerleading and say, look, it's okay. You can still make it in America. Just go out there and bust your ass. You can get it done. And that's an important thing to tell people. Yeah. People need to hear that.
But I'm inherently, I'll tell you, I am inherently pretty negative, pessimist person. I'm not a very positive person, but that's why I work so hard. I push hard because I expect for the government to tax me, for the Fed to print money, and for my competition to do something very bright. I'm not the smartest person in the economy or in the marketplace, so I know I need to work harder. I'm completely committed to my success. I'm obsessed with it, have been since I was 8 years old. I highly recommend people become addicted to success. It's the only addiction that pays off all the time, by the way.
Yeah. Speaking of government interference, I want to foreshadow something we were talking about just before you came on. And that is the rumblings in the state of California. You have the last house standing on Malibu Beach. It was singed by the fires. It was not leveled. Very fortunate for you, obviously. But you're hearing rumblings now that those beaches in Malibu, including your house potentially, may be taken by the government under eminent domain. And it's just rumblings and rumors and so forth. But that's very concerning. What are you hearing?
I got a phone call yesterday from a guy that sells trillions with a T of insurance premiums per year worldwide. He's actually covering my home, okay, and along with a 15,000 unit portfolio that we cover with him. And he says, Grant, are you hearing anything about eminent domain on the coastline? And I said, no, I haven't heard that yet. What are you talking about? And he's like, we're hearing the first rumblings from property owners that are trying to get covered, that nobody can understand. Why is nothing being done? Why is the beach not being picked up? Why haven't the bore samplings and environmental stuff been done? Why are only 4 permits been approved in 4 months? And those 4 permits, by the way, Steve, were done before the fires. So they were already in place. And the talk is now that the state of California is planning to seize the coastline in Malibu.
Yeah, we just did a little math here before we came on. 21 miles, according to ChatGPT. 21 miles. Now, they might not take it all at once, but what's a mile of coastline worth in Malibu, California?
Well, what's it worth? Who knows?
Right. I mean, it's astronomical.
But this is what I've been saying for I don't know, 4 months now. You cannot have this much incompetence in one place consistently. This has to be intentional. You can't be this stupid this consistently without it being intentional, meaning many of these homes have been sitting there 40 and 50 years made of timber. There's 8,000 fires that go through California every year. 8,000 fires every year for the last 800 years or ever since they've been clocking fires. And when your house is made of timber roof, tinder floors, tinder exterior, and fire hits it, it burns.
Now, Grant, hold on. I want to jump in right there for just one moment. If you're intrigued by what you've heard so far, go to grantcardone.com. Learn about business, learn about real estate, learn about the state of California, and Grant that might run for governor. We would just want to put a little hard stop in here because the rest is going to be available after the break or on YouTube. But grantcardone.com. Here we go, diving back into it. Look, good to have you along for the conversation. We talk about a lot of serious things here, a lot of things to make sure that you're looking out for yourself in a variety of ways. And one of those ways is to protect yourself financially. My next guest used to steal from people, used to steal everything they had. They used to steal their homes. Matt Cox is from Home Title Lock. He's a public educator and a former home title thief. He's a guy that perfected this and ended up in prison because it wasn't quite perfect. Matt, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to be here. All right, you spent some time in prison because of your criminal track record, but you stole from people. You stole from all sorts of people that were retired and elderly. I mean, kind of shameful things. You've said that before on this program, right? Not proud of what you did.
Correct.
Tell me how you did it. If you saw somebody that was vulnerable, tell me how you did it. How do you target somebody? Look, everybody that has a home that's had it for a few years has probably built up some equity in that home. If they've had it for 10 or 15 years, maybe a lot of equity. And that's a big reservoir of cash, potential cash, I suppose. How did you access that money?
So what's interesting about that is that you don't actually have to have any equity in your house. Now, it'd be great if they did. It makes things a lot easier. But I could go down to public records and simply satisfy the loan that you or your current mortgage on your home. It's a one-page document I would create using the same software everybody else has, and I would obtain a notary stamp, and I would notarize that document, record it in public records, and now you don't have a mortgage on your house anymore, at least in public records. And that would give me the ability to borrow against your house. I would either create an identity, like a driver's license or an identification card in your name, and I could apply for loans in your name and borrow those loans or mortgages on your house. Or I could transfer the mortgage to your house into a synthetic identity or a stolen identity's name and borrow against the house, or even sell the house.
So you make the lien against the home. In this case, we'll just make it simple, keep it with mortgages. But so there's a mortgage on the home. You make the mortgage vanish in the eyes of the people that can loan you money, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
So you just take your eraser out, you get rid of that. Once you've done that, now you can get all sorts of new loans. Home equity, line of credit loans, maybe you want to fix up the home, allegedly. However, maybe a whole new mortgage, maybe sell the house. Once you're at that point, you can just about do anything, can't you?
Correct. It's much easier than people think. And, that saying erase the mortgage is, simplifies it, but not by much. It's really just recording a document. With two documents, I can satisfy the loan on your house and transfer the title out of your name into someone else's name, or put it up for sale and sell it. Now that if you're living in the house, that's more difficult, but not really. It'd be easier to borrow against the house. And I've done this many, many times, and the homeowner does not even realize it's happened until the bank starts mailing them letters and starts foreclosing on the property. By that point, I've already deposited those checks and I'm long gone, or whoever's currently doing this type of thing. They're gone.
Did you have, and people that pull this kind of a scam on people, was there a preferred target or anybody that owns a home?
Anybody,
anybody.
Yeah, I would love to say that. I would love to tell you, oh, well, you'd be extra careful if you're this age or in this bracket.
But it's not that.
No, it's not that. It's me driving through a neighborhood, or anyone committing this crime, driving through a neighborhood and saying, hey, there's a house. That looks like a house that's in good shape. And then going to public records. And when I did it, you had to physically drive down to public records. You don't have to do that anymore. You can sit in the coffee shop and use their Wi-Fi and go on public records. And I can find out all kinds of things about you.
So you just drive through, Matt, a nice upper middle class neighborhood and say, that one looks good, that one looks good, that one looks. You take 2 or 3 addresses, you go do your homework, and then you go start pulling the low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit in this case is the cash that people have in this home or that home, and you get rid of the mortgage, you clean it up, and the cash flows. Is it easier now than it used to be because of all the interconnectedness of the world? I mean, everybody's online. You can get right online and figure out who owns what property pretty quick, can't you?
Yes, it's much easier, and that's really why it's happening more and more. When I was doing this crime 20 years ago, it wasn't happening all the time, and now it's happening just more and more. I'm constantly having people send me articles about houses being stolen, resold, mortgages being taken out on them. I mean, it's becoming almost an epidemic.
Yeah. If home title lock had been around back then, would you have gotten away with this?
No, I would have. That's I hate to say it, like, that's the worst thing about home title lock is that it's a nightmare for a title thief, because it allows you to be caught in the middle of the crime, and for the homeowner to be notified of the crime while you're immediately. So I may not have time to do anything. The best part about this crime when I was doing it, or of course if you don't have a monitoring service like Home Title Lock, is that I can do this and the homeowner doesn't get notified for months. Now, if they have Home Title Lock, they get notified immediately. They're able to put a stop to it, hopefully contact the authorities, and then someone like me gets arrested in the middle of the scam or the crime.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're still making their house payments, they're making their electric payments, they're taking care of the yard, all that stuff, while you're siphoning all the cash right out, and they don't even know it. Here's the thing. $1 Million triple lock protection helps keep your home and equity safe. And here's what you get. 24/7 monitoring of your property, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and if fraud should happen, like Matt just said, the U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud, restore your title, no additional cost. Here's the best part. I've teamed up with Home Title Lock and Matt and his team over there to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you're already a victim. Access your personal title expert. It's a $250 value. Go to HometitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save money right now. Click on the link on the description. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Matt, I appreciate you sharing your stories here today. I think it'll help people realize how dangerous it can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Get protection and peace of mind that you deserve right now. I'll be right back. All right, here's something I talked to you about on the top of the program today. And I was talking to a guy who said that this particular weight loss drug, GLP-1, right, from Eli Lilly, he says has changed his life, right? Changed his life. He's battled weight his entire life, said he's off all blood pressure medicines, lost 140 pounds. It is not Ozempic, right? It is the GLP-1 from Eli Lilly. The trade name is, what is the trade name on that? No. Let's see here. It is, the trade name I've misplaced here, but the point being is that they have many other benefits, including it can cut the rate of cancer in half in people. Unbelievable, but true. Cut the rate of cancer in half with some people. So there's a lot of things to consider there. Eli Lilly's newest GLP-1 drug will be a game changer for the stock, they're reporting as well. Eli Lilly up 3% yesterday on news that they have a brand new GLP-1. Takes away from obesity surgery and can cut cancer. Listen, attention, business leaders, entrepreneurs, men. This is the first ever men's only event packed with the most elite voices in business, leadership, and global strategy. Built to give you the edge to dominate in life and business right now. I'll be with Garrett White, Salt Lake City, Utah this weekend. He's the unstoppable founder of Wake Up Warrior. This is the Man in the Arena tour. I've talked to you about it. I'll be there. I'm going to be there in Salt Lake City this weekend, Saturday. 7,000 men talking about life, marriage, their faith, their future. ManInTheArenaTour.com. ManInTheArenaTour.com. Step up, lead strong, win big. Join me for this extraordinary event. Don't be left behind. If you're thinking about going, look, join me there. Come up and say, hey, Gruber, I saw you talking about the Man in the Arena Tour. I decided to go myself. Check it out, Man in the Arena Tour. A variety of tickets you can get. They're going fast, though, so don't wait. Coming up in the next hour, Dr. Robert Malone will be with me for a half an hour talking about everything under the sun medically. All right, live from Studio G and fighting for you from the Foxhole Film. Here we go into another brand new hour of the Steve Gruber Show. Warning, this show can often result in extended periods of American pride and enthusiasm in the future of an America First world. It's Dirty John, and I'm going to do it for you here today. Here are the three big things you need to know. Number one, the New York Times says it's time for Joe Biden to go quietly into the pasture and just be quiet. They're tired of hearing him claim he could have won the election when he couldn't even speak. Number two, as I prepare to go cover the White House for 10 days at the end of the month, I'm pleased to see other voices are in the room now. To ask questions, get fresh perspectives. You know, the new media chair. Number three, it has been a remarkable few days for the Trump administration. Donald Trump now in Saudi Arabia on the first part of a three-leg trip. He's facilitated a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, arranged a face-to-face meeting with Putin and Zelensky to hopefully bring that war to an end. That's happening Thursday in Turkey. To deliver the last remaining American hostage in Gaza back to his parents, signing an executive order to toss out mindless restrictions on almost every major appliance you can name and a few you can't. And, of course, delivering on the big campaign promise of Bernie Sanders and chopping the cost of prescription drugs for you. Pretty good few days, wouldn't you say? By the way, the stock market took off yesterday because of the deal with China on trade. But here's Bobby Kennedy. Let's stay with the pharmaceutical issue for a moment. Bobby Kennedy slamming his former Democrat colleagues for lying about President Trump reducing prescription drug prices. Listen to this.
But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know what, there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country 11.
Yeah. Look, most favored nation, MFN. That's what Donald Trump has declared for the United States, which means one of the drugs I've heard about is for breast cancer. Here in America, it costs $16,000 a month. In Sweden, it's $1,600 a month, 1/10. You see, apparently, for many years, I didn't even know this. You might have, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But you know now, we've been subsidizing the socialist governments of the EU. We pay for the research and development. We pay top dollar for the prescriptions while they do not. Well, that's over. Time to level the playing field. Let them pay a little bit more, and we pay tremendously less. By the way, President Trump had this to say about reducing the cost of prescription drugs when he signed that executive order. Listen.
Never had a president that had the courage to do this. And nobody knew the system like I do. I mean, I've gotten to know this system so well. And I don't think it's fair that it benefits Obamacare. Obamacare is a failure. It's not a good health care. It works. I made it work. I had an obligation to make it work, or an obligation to let it die. I chose that we had to make it work. I had to make it as good as possible. And I had a choice. I could have let it fail or make it as good as possible. As good as possible means it was still not very good, but it survived.
Yeah. So, this is a big breakthrough, and there's a reason for this. Bernie Sanders was one of those out on the campaign trail in 2020 and 2024 saying he would cut the cost of prescription drugs by half. Well, guess what? Donald Trump plucked that card out of his pile and played it. And when will the drug prices be coming down? Well, Bobby Kennedy weighs in on that. Here he is.
Mr. Secretary, Trump says some prices will come down almost immediately. What is the timetable for these price cuts?
Well, there's a series of escalating steps, but you know what? That will bring them down to European levels. Right now, America provides 75% of the pharmaceutical revenues in the world. And we only have 4.2% of the world's population.
Sure.
We're paying in our country, the list price for Ozempic is $1,300 per dose. In London, it's $88. And Democratic and Republican politicians have been talking about for years, we got to end these discrepancies. Nobody has had the courage to do it because of the power of the pharmaceutical lobby on Capitol Hill.
Okay.
In answer to your question, how soon will this happen? It depends on how enthusiastically the drug companies cooperate. There are a series of escalating steps that we will take if they don't cooperate. But we're we've been meeting with the pharmaceutical companies. They admit that this is something that should have ended a long time ago. And I think they're ready to figure out a way to get there. And they have advantages in this executive order, Stuart.
Okay.
Because we got rid of the PBMs. We got rid of the middlemen. And that's something that they've wanted themselves.
Those are the pharmacy benefit managers. They're the ones that often dictated prices to you. They're like a middleman in there in the pharmacy. Well, they got sliced out of the equation here, which is kind of a big deal as well, right? Right. It is a very big deal. So there you go. I think it's a great breakthrough for the Trump administration. It's a populist point of view, but he takes on big pharma. And it's interesting that the Democrats say, well, it's not good enough. The Democrats have run on this for years. They've never done anything about it. Donald Trump does. Of course, they can't find anything good to say about it at all. I've got a new product I want to tell you about here, X39 LifeWave. It's a patch that stimulates your stem cells. Stimulates your stem cells to create vitality, activity, sleep, movement, wellness, skin care. When it comes to sleep, improve your sleep quality and quantity so you can sleep better and more deeply. Unlock your full movement potential and enhance fitness. Begin living longer. Patch up. Wear your wellness solution. Share your experience. Tell folks about it. X39. You can find this at gruberhealth.com, by the way. It will kickstart your stem cells. That's the talk here. gruberhealth.com. Check it out. By the way, Missy and the good folks at My Pure Health can tell you more about it when you get there. It's worth a look. It's worth exploring. It's LifeWave X39. It's a patch. You put it right back here. I wear them. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, I feel pretty good. Except for running into the wall. But other than that, I feel pretty good. Pretty darn good, I must say. We'll try anything here to keep young and vital. That's right. Still to come. Tax-exempt organizations. Should they remain that way? Or should they be looked at closer? We'll talk to Scott Hodge, adventure at Arnold Benches after this. Good to have you on the conversation as we continue now. There's a lot of talk out there of ending the tax-free status of some of these universities, especially when they buck federal law when it comes to DEI and so forth. What about taking away the tax-exempt status of some of these universities? This is one of the conversations. By the way, these universities have about $1 trillion in endowments combined. And that doesn't mean they're all out there guilty, but I mean billions and billions of dollars at some of these schools. Scott Hodge, Arnold Ventures scholar and former Tax Foundation president, joining me now to sort this out. Scott, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be with you.
So what about tax-exempt status for some of these organizations when they take political stands that are, in opposition to federal law? I mean, can you really take away tax-exempt status? The courts, some say you can, but you've seen a lot of activist judges say you cannot. I don't know what the answer is here. What say you?
Well, I'm a little reluctant to use the IRS to pick on any particular group, but there are lots of reasons to challenge the tax-exempt status for some of these organizations. And universities in particular have become big business. So what I've been advocating is that at least we tax the business side income of these universities, and that would include the investment income from their endowments. And as you mentioned, they have nearly $1 trillion worth of investment in their endowments. Some of these universities, the big ones in particular, earning like 10% annually on their investment income. And here's the rub. They don't spend all that. They only spend about 5% or less on student scholarships and the overhead of the university, and so they're gaining. These large endowments keep growing year after year, and they're not actually applying them toward making college less expensive.
No. College is definitely not less expensive. In fact, since Barack Obama moved almost all student loans to the federal government, the cost of going to college has skyrocketed. It's interesting. If one government entity is giving money to another government entity, that being the federal government, to a government school, a state school, and there's one middleman in between, that's the student, man, the price goes way up. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, this is called the Bennett principle, after William Bennett, who was the Secretary of Education under George Bush the First, and he said that the more we subsidize universities, the more that tuition is going to go up.
No, absolutely right.
They're basically capitalizing all the subsidies into building gold-plated, gyms and whatnot, but it's not actually improving the quality of the education, and all we see is the costs go up. It's much like healthcare. The more we subsidize healthcare, the more prices seem to go up. And it seems to be a function of government in the way that we try to help people. It ends up hurting them and undermining the market as a result.
And you have other examples here. College athletes, they have to pay on their NIL money, but the universities don't pay money on the big lucrative television deals they get. Banks pay income tax, but not when taken over by a tax-exempt credit union. And what's the difference, really? Tax-exempt hospitals spend millions on Super Bowl ads. Do they need to be subsidized by taxpayers? And then it comes back to PBS and NPR, which obviously get a lot of our money, and Donald Trump's taking a shot at right now of defunding those folks, making them, compete with me straight up. I don't get free money from the government to put this program on every day, and I don't want their money. I don't want their strings attached. So, all of these organizations, you raise legitimate concerns about them.
You look at the NCAA, for instance, which gets $1 billion a year in TV revenues, and it pays zero income tax, and its ostensible purpose is to promote amateur athletics. Well, we don't have amateur athletics anymore. We have paid athletes. So if the athletes are going to get paid and pay taxes, shouldn't the NCAA as well? The same thing goes for the Big Ten, the Big East, and all of these big conferences, which are making billions of dollars in TV revenues and other endorsements and pay no income taxes under the guise of being nonprofits. Well, they're actually big sports and entertainment businesses, and they ought to be taxed like them. In fact, what's interesting is that the NFL, the NBA, and MLB all gave up their tax-exempt status many, many years ago under a cloud of controversy. And if they can do it, if they can survive not being tax-free, then some of these big college organizations ought to be able to do it as well.
Yeah. It seems that it just seems that the American taxpayer is sent the bill for one thing after another that just is indefensible. And much of what you've gone through in your list here, Scott, is indefensible. The subsidizing of organizations that have bankrolls a foot thick, right? It's stunning to me. Go ahead.
Well, look at Steve. Credit unions have been tax exempt for over 90 years.
And why?
And
listen, there are credit unions in this town that I can go join. I'm not a member of any special group that they have because they make exemptions for everybody. Oh, you can come join. You can come join. And why are they tax exempt? Why?
Well, because they started out as these little mom and pop shops where a group of people together, like farmers or little businessmen would get together and pool their resources and loan each other money. That's how it all began over 120 years ago. Well, that's really an anachronism now in today's commercial world.
Right.
And now we have credit unions, many of them in Michigan, buying banks.
Right.
Oftentimes in places like Florida.
Well, look, if you don't have to pay taxes for 120 years, you can really, build up some capital and go buy some other stuff. Anyhow, I got to leave it there. I don't like, I think that churches should be tax exempt and some other things, but I think that the list is too long and too many people are getting away with not paying into the system. Scott Hodge, Arnold Ventures Scholar, Tax Foundation President. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, man. Yeah, if you don't pay tax for 120 years, man, you got a lot of extra cheese sitting around to go buy stuff next door. That's right. Anyhow, still to come, Dr. Robert Malone's going to be with me. You know who he is, of course. Canceled every step of the way during COVID. He's here. War, enforcing the New World Order, the crimes of Anthony Fauci on tap. Still to come. Oh, yeah. Eden Alexander, the last hostage known to be alive, last American hostage, I should say, known to be alive in Gaza, released yesterday after 580 days in captivity, defying all the odds. Donald Trump calling it the great news, and it is great news. It really is. He spent 580 days in captivity in Gaza. He's 21-year-old dual citizen of Israel and the United States, received by the Specialized Israel Defense Force unit, was brought to an initial reception facility in Raim, where he was undergoing preliminary medical and psychological evaluations. A very emotional moment. We embrace him. We embrace his family, said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This was achieved thanks to our military pressure and the diplomatic pressure applied by President Trump. That combination is a winning formula. By the way, he held up a whiteboard on one of the screens I saw yesterday. Said, thank you, Donald Trump. Yeah, thank you, Donald Trump. Yeah. Just another win. I mean, it's just one big win after another here for the Trump administration, it seems to me. And I applaud all the good things that are happening. How can you look the other way? By the way, according to Real Clear Politics and Rasmussen, Donald Trump's Approval number is now 5246, plus 6. Plus 6. There you have it. This part of the program brought to you by My Pure Health. If you want to lose weight, and you've thought about it for a long time, you've watched this program or followed this program, you want to lose weight, My Pure Health Solutions is the way to get it done. We had Rich from North Carolina on here just the other day. He called in on Free for All Friday, said he lost 140 pounds, more than his wife weighs. So he did with all the folks at My Pure Health. If you don't want any of these drugs, an injection in the stomach, or any of those crazy things, or bariatric surgery, or any of that crazy stuff, you just want to do it the right way, the real way, My Pure Health, go to gruberhealth.com, gruberhealth.com. Click right on there, and you can lose weight right now. gruberhealth.com. If you're sick of avoiding the mirror, or your joints hurt, or you just want to feel better, gruberhealth.com. Straight ahead, Dr. Robert Malone will be back with me here. Don't go anywhere. I just saw something pop up on. I just saw a post pop up from Axios saying that apparently there were these discussions behind the scenes that if Joe Biden were somehow elected to a second term, he'd probably have to finish that term in a wheelchair. They knew how far gone he was. And lied and lied and lied, yeah. Sometimes you just can't hide the truth. Anyhow, just something for you. Joining me now, Dr. Robert Malone, author of War, Enforcing the New World Order. He's back with us. Dr. Malone, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Steve. It's good to see you. I hope everything's going good wherever you are in the world.
It's going great. I think we dodged a bullet, obviously, with Joe Biden. It's remarkable how well they're able to hide these things in this day and age about his health. I mean, you spend your time looking at people's health. It was clear for a very long time that President Biden was not fit to continue. I'm not sure he was fit to begin, let alone fit to continue. But it's remarkable how much people will lie to us, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the chapters in the history books about the Biden presidency are not going to be very pretty. I've heard many people talking about this as the savior of many past presidents that have underperformed. It may be that Joe Biden is at the bottom of the stack in terms of American presidents.
Yeah.
Corruption, what happened in Ukraine, his son, the auto pen pardons. It just, in retrospect, it's amazing that we tolerated this, and we tolerated it because of corporate media basically shilling for him.
You know, let's talk about that auto pen for a moment, shall we? I mean, that auto pen apparently was the vehicle by which pardons were handed out to people like Dr. Anthony Fauci, who, in retrospect, we know it's pretty clear, lied in front of Congress to Senator Rand Paul repeatedly. I mean, repeatedly. And he said, I don't want a pardon. I noticed he didn't turn it back in. You know, you're not required to take the pardon, right? You don't have to accept it. You can say, I'm not interested in that. You can reject that. What do you think, in retrospect now, of all the people, of all the people that were involved playing puppet master during COVID, of shutting everything down and demanding that things happen, and Anthony Fauci behind the wall, sending out emails telling people not to, talk about this and to lie about that. I mean, he was caught, was he not, Doctor?
Yeah, I know that there's a active investigation ongoing in under Tulsi Gabbard, and there's also an active investigation at FBI. And the core issue in the DNI, the issue is the origins of the virus, and at FBI, it's specifically about Tony Fauci. And the core issue is whether or not he can be prosecuted. But the thesis seems to be that he did perjure himself, and he seems to have violated various federal conflicts of interest clauses having to do with commercial activity. He clearly enriched himself as an employee of the federal government in many ways. His net worth apparently really popped by many millions immediately after he left the federal government, after being compensated with the largest salary of any federal employee for years and years and years. And then we have these odd things like this anonymous letter from an NIH official that was published in the Disinformation Chronicles that has the titillating fact that apparently Tony Fauci had a picture of the Godfather character up on the wall in his office. He seems to self-identify with that character. And it is how he behaved. He behaved as if he was running a mafia.
As you look back now, not everybody got a pardon. And your book is, pretty well on target about these things. The War, Enforcing the New World Order, psychological bioterrorism, deep state censorship, surveillance capitalism, administrative state objectives, fifth generation warfare, War tactics, techno-totalitarianism, all of these things, Doctor. So here's the thing. There was a report, I want you to weigh in on this, that this COVID event was kind of on the calendar for 2025, according to these accounts that I've read, right? They had kind of gamed this out for this year, but somehow they had a mistake. Somebody kicked over the can in 2019 and kind of stumbled through Wuhan, right? They fell down in the lab, and then they went over to the wet market to have lunch, and next thing you knew, a bunch of people are getting sick, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It's
So
the,
so
this.
here's my question. Did they do it accidentally? And then they tried to say, well, we've planned for it, but we're behind, and they scrambled to try to kind of do all these things, lock us down, wear masks, take vaccines, all these things. They had planned for it, but all of a sudden they stubbed their toe. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it?
What it doesn't account for, that theory, is that the federal government had a pandemic plan in place, a written pandemic plan, and instead they seem to have jettisoned it in a moment's notice, and then I don't know how else to put it, assimilated, embraced the plan that had been implemented by the Chinese Communist Party with their lockdowns and more severe authoritarian measures. So it's really still a great mystery why key leaders in the first Trump administration just went all in on implementing the China-based solution for population management, as opposed to the plans that have been put in place that were much more circumspect, much more targeted, much more aligned with international norms and epidemiology science than this authoritarian, heavy-handed response that we saw in China and
Well,
then
you
saw.
ask how they all went in on the. I think we can all agree, in retrospect, looking at Donald Trump's first administration, it is wholly different from his second.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that he brought in a whole host of people that he would not bring in this time around because he didn't know, frankly, the game in Washington. He was not a Washington guy, he's a New York guy. And he trusted people. He took advice, bad advice from bad people, a lot of which turned around and wrote books about stabbing him in the back and how much money they could make. I mean, right? I mean, a lot of these people came in, they were there long enough to say terrible things about him and sell books. So maybe that was all part of the deal. He had bad people around him in the first administration. A lot more than now, wouldn't you say?
He did, and Donald Trump is a sophisticated, battle-hardened New York developer. That's got to be about as hard a case as you could make, and yet he still got rolled basically when he got to D.C. D.C. culture is wicked, and it's still wicked. It's not changed. The quest and thirst for power will lead people to do all kinds of crazy things. And that's still at play in the current situation. DC exists
It
as
is, but hold that thought, Doctor. We're going to come back because I do want you to compare how Donald Trump has developed. Yeah, he got rolled the first time. I think that's a fair way to put it. He may or may not agree with that, but I think that that's true by bad people. But it's a different day today. We'll be right back. Dr. Robert Malone here on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, back on the Steve Gruber Show. Dr. Robert Malone here with me, author of War, Enforcing the New World Order, The Crimes of Anthony Fauci. Doctor, I want to take a completely different approach here for a second. Yesterday, we saw Donald Trump sign an executive order giving America most favored nation status, reducing the cost of prescription drugs. I think that's an important step, right? We're no longer subsidizing all the socialist governments of Europe. I think it's a smart move. Let me just ask you this. You know, we've got COVID that we can reflect on, and the mistakes that were made, and we're pretty certain that we were lied to by Anthony Fauci and a host of other folks. And we had bad folks in the first Trump administration. But as you, as a medical professional, you look down there, what are some of the things you would like to see happen in America, maybe globally, to make the health of the average human being on this planet better going forward? What can we learn from COVID? What can we learn from what we've done? What can we learn and do as the Trump administration, as America being the leader of the global everything? How can we lead on medicine and make the world a healthier place? What would you like to see happen? Let's take a positive turn on this.
Okay, positive. So things that we can do. I love that you're advertising a weight loss program and not to
not drugs.
Tie in the commercial side, but I think weight loss is crucial, and the American diet has been exported across the world, and we've seen an explosion of people being overweight across the world as they have McDonald's and other suppliers that produce highly processed foods and fast foods have moved into the major urban centers of virtually every nation in the world. So better food, weight loss, a focus on healthy living. And I personally think that one of the trends that's going on across the world that we need to counter is the influence of the electronic media that we're bombarded with. I'm not talking about 5G effects. Those certainly could be an issue. It hasn't been well documented yet. But I think that we need to come back together as human communities, connecting with each other, as opposed to the vision of Facebook that we're all going to be surrounded by artificial intelligence-based friends.
Yeah, I saw that.
Social media.
I don't need any more friends. I certainly don't need AI friends. I'll tell you that. Anyhow, go ahead.
So
That's good stuff.
each other, better diet. One of the things that's happened that I think we can fight, and that's the purpose of the book, and that's become basically my mission, is to try to teach people about how they're being mentally manipulated by media. And we need to break that cycle. We need to learn these techniques and strategies so that we're no longer susceptible to them. It all interlaces because it's of course these same tools that have been developed for political manipulation that are called fifth generation warfare or cyber. They're also now being used in a widespread fashion for marketing by the pharmaceutical industry, by big ag, by all kinds of entities. This technology, coupled with artificial intelligence, is penetrating down through the entire marketing ecosystem.
You know, I think you're exactly right. We're being bombarded with information every day. Every day. And I can just go back to the basic food pyramid. We were bombarded with that. It was completely wrong. Everything about it was wrong, right? About nutrition and so forth.
All upside down. Yeah. It's an upside down pyramid.
Completely upside down, and yet we were bombarded with that. You know, after Eisenhower had his heart attack, oh, you can't eat salt. Salt will kill you. Don't eat eggs. Eggs are bad for you. I mean, come on.
Steak. They put him on steak and eggs. Now it's the hot diet, right?
Right.
Call it paleo. That's another thing I think that we can do in a positive way is step back a little bit. Don't be so caught up in the stream of information and the latest science trademark, but rather rely on time-tested practices, ethics, things like communities of faith. Rely on these time-tested, focus on the family. These are things that we can do in our daily lives to really improve our health, our mental health in particular. and to build strength and resiliency within our communities. I think that is the way forward personally.
No, I think
Is
you're right, and spend a lot less time on these damn things, right? A lot less time
Precisely.
on these devices because
Precisely.
look, how healthy can that be? I mean, it has your brain click 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 because I mean, not only do the food companies have ways to make sure you eat all their food because of salt and sugar and fat, and they balance it out. It's all science. Same thing with these. They just want you staring at their little machines so they can control the way you think. That is the essence of the Psy war. And enforcing the New World Order is getting you to listen to their messages. But I agree with you. Obesity. That's probably the biggest thing that I see every day. We're a different species than we were 40 years ago. Get rid of the obesity, better food products, scale down on electronic media, spend more time with family. This is what your mom told you. Your mom was right,
Steve,
right?
My personal angle here is get out and work with your body, work with your hands, get back go back to the country, my friends.
Yeah.
Go hiking. Remember the 70s movement where we were all going hiking and spending time in nature and embracing that and embracing, I get so much pleasure just from bird song. There are so many things out there for free that are real. And if you get out there and start working with your body, you're going to get healthier in your mind and in your soul and
Great
in your
advice.
physical.
Great advice. Dr. Robert Malone, author of Psy War Enforcing the New World Order. Look, it's why we go fishing. I can trust the natural world. I don't know if I can trust anything on this machine. But I can trust if I grow a tomato and catch a fish. That I can trust. The natural world can still be trusted. We need to connect with it more. Go barefoot, my friends. Enjoy the day. Dr. Robert Malone, thank you for the positive spin.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Always appreciate him. He's right. Obesity, that's the number one. That's the biggest killer of all right now. All things stem from that. Anyhow, get outside. Enjoy the sunshine. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, time to check in on sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. The New York Knicks are now up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics after the Knicks won Game 4 of their NBA second-round playoff series, 121-113 last night at Madison Square Garden. Jalen Brunson had 39 points to lead the Knicks. The Minnesota Timberwolves are now up 3-1 in their second-round series. They beat Golden State 117-110 in Game 4 last night in San Francisco. In the NHL playoffs, the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Washington Capitals 5-2 to take a 3-1 series lead in their second-round series, Game 5 Thursday night in Washington. And the Edmonton Oilers shut out the Vegas Golden Knights 3-0 to take a 3-1 series lead out west. Adam Henrique scored twice for the Oilers. And in Major League Baseball last night, nearly a full schedule. American League winners included the New York Yankees, Detroit, and Texas. National League winners included Atlanta, the Chicago Cubs, and Arizona. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, this part of the program brought to you by Exodus. Are you tired of being pained every day? Try ExodusNow.com. Introducing Exodus, a natural holistic supplement that combines 2,000 years of ancient wisdom with modern science. It features 7 biblical ingredients: frankincense, myrrh, cumin, paired with the groundbreaking benefits of molecular hydrogen, designed to soothe joint and muscle discomfort, boost your energy, and reduce inflammation. If you're living with chronic inflammation, you're not alone. Look around, folks. You don't have to suffer anymore. Try ExodusNow.com. Try ExodusNow.com. It makes my brain clear. It really does. I like Exodus a lot. Like I said, I'll do anything to remain vital. Ivy thought that was cute, but I mean, come on. Remain vital. Oh, I also drink 1775 coffee to kick me right square in the behind to get rolling every day. 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save a little bit of money on that as well. Why? I want you drinking real coffee that's got real attitude, that's bold, not BS, corporate nonsense like the folks with a little green circle. Who is that again? Coffee that stands for something. 1775 coffee, roasted by patriots for patriots like you, like me. Get fresh. Get 1775coffee.com. All right, in the next hour, we'll have Brad Paquette here. We'll also have Ivy here. I mean, how do you put a price on any of that? The answer is you do not. She'll be here rocking it on the Steve Gruber Show. I heard in the car, by the way. All right, getting back to it here. It's the next hour, an explosive hour on the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you here as I light the fuse and fight for you from the foxhole of freedom. All right, three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Rashida Tlaib is backing the primary challenger of Sri Tanadar. Sri, not for me. Number two, opening statements begin in the Edenville Dam disaster case against the state of Michigan. We'll tell you about that coming up. And number three, something completely different here today because it's something that warrants discussion, but so far has been ignored in large part by the national news media, and I have to ask myself, why is that? The only coverage of this story for the most part recently has been Democrats complaining that Donald Trump has given a free pass to people coming here, white folks coming here from South Africa, because they're being killed at home. The Communist Party of South Africa has made it clear they want to target the Boers, B-O-E-R. The Boers are the Dutch descendants, the Afrikaners. The Dutch descendants that, their families at one point, held sway over the country with apartheid. But now they're farmers and so forth, and white farmers are being killed and their property being taken and redistributed to the black folks in South Africa. But they're being murdered, so they're seeking asylum in the United States, and as a result, those on the left are going crazy. Well, it's only because they're left. On CNN and elsewhere, they hate the people being targeted for death by the Communist Party of South Africa, saying we shouldn't let them in at all. Shouldn't let them in at all. They're being murdered. It is an actual genocide in South Africa. Listen to this.
Refugees. So what's the difference between the refugees that they're talking about here and those refugees? I could guess. I mean, I think everyone...
They're white.
They're white. Thank you. They are white. And I think, look, if that is how you feel, fine, then hold the line. But there are people all over the world, even people in this country right now, who are who have sought asylum, who are going through the process of asylum seeking, and have been detained by ICE and are being deported. There's also a genocide happening in the Congo right now that I don't see any Congolese being getting relief to come to this country. So there are Afghanis that helped us in Afghanistan that we have left behind. Even the last administration didn't do right by them. This administration can do right by them, but they are not, because it doesn't fit the narrative of the type of immigrants that we want in our country.
And even saying there is also a genocide.
Is that what it is? There's a genocide happening in South Africa. She admitted that right there. And then the other guy that starts to talk tries to deny that there's a genocide in South Africa. Here's how it is. Kill the Boer. Kill the farmer. That's what's chanted in the streets at every one of these communist South African get-togethers. Listen.
Alliance shoot to kill Hamaza, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa. Attention.
Kill the Boer. Kill the farmer. Brr, pa. Brr, pa. That means kill the white people. Reports, it depends on what source you use, as to how many white farmers are murdered in the country every year. Hundreds. 200, 400, 800. Nobody's really sure. Hundreds murdered. And the land taken back and given to others. 63 million people in South Africa. 4.5 million are white. That's about 7.5% of the population being targeted for extermination. 4 million people being targeted for extermination in South Africa. But for those on this side of the Atlantic, for those on this side of the world, they say it's absurd. It's not happening. But Trump's taking in South Africans on a refugee plan, and it has, well, folks like that in a complete uproar, right? Here is President Trump weighing in on the genocide. Here's what he said about it. Listen.
Afrikaners who claim discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States, where your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess, a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it.
No, they don't. Rhodesia was an apartheid nation. It's now Zimbabwe. And similar things happened there. By the way, Rhodesia fed most of southern Africa. Breadbasket, great soil, great farmers. They were murdered. And then Rhodesia had a famine where millions of people starved to death because they had murdered their farmers and nobody knew how to farm, or not enough to get the job done. So these refugees are now coming to America, and those on the left are protesting, naturally, because they're always on the wrong side of history. Always on the wrong side of history. Yeah, it's inexcusable. Let me ask you something. Would you trade 30 minutes for an extra $750,000 in your IRA? Join Terry Sawchuk for a live interactive webinar to learn how Sawchuk Wealth helps people reduce their investment costs by as much as 50% and better manage investment risk as tariffs and trade wars threaten the markets and things are all over the place. Terry Sawchuk will answer all of your questions, discuss simple changes that could put an extra $750,000 in your IRA by the time you retire. One of those webinars is happening tonight. You don't want to miss it. If you want to find out more about how to save money and protect yourself, go to sawchuckwealth.com/Gruber. Register for the webinar. It's today. sawchuckwealth.com/Gruber. Get registered for that webinar tonight, and Terry can walk you through all these different scenarios. All securities through Money Concepts Capital Corporation, member FINRA/SIPC. All right, so there, you've got your disclosure. Coming up next, Brad Paquette, state representative. Acts to protect kids from harmful gender transition surgeries and chemicals. Coming up after this on The Steve Gruber Show. right, my next guest is State Representative Brad Paquette of Michigan. And he's looking to protect kids from harmful gender transition surgeries and chemicals. I happen to agree strongly with that. Brad, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Steve.
All right, so tell me, for folks that don't know, where do you represent? What is your district?
I'm pretty much as far south and west as you can go in Michigan. So bordering on getting to Chicago.
All right. Around the corner from Gary, Indiana. All right.
Yes, sir.
So you're a New Buffalo guy.
That used to be part of the district, but that got carved out for a lakeshore district with redistricting. So they took that part from me, but I've got everything to the east of that.
All right. So tell me about this. To protect kids from harmful gender transition surgeries, which is disfigurement. It's brutal. It's barbaric to me. And these chemicals, by the way, the chemicals used in transitioning people, young people, are the same drugs used to chemically castrate sex offenders. I mean, these are very powerful drugs, life-altering. The surgery is also life-altering, creates a lifelong patient in the medical industry. And it has to be called an industry at that point because you're creating a customer for life. Tell me about your bills and why you feel so passionate about it.
Yeah, so I used to be a former teacher, so I've seen a lot of young people, kind of being misled down this path directly. There's this idea. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm at odds with a lot of my former students that used to be their favorite teacher. They think that, I'm off on this. There's this movement saying and juxtaposing, this trans issue with the civil rights movement, saying that this is the next civil rights movement, and it's just completely wrong. Because there is this, I guess, intent to try to tell children that they can change their sex with drugs and surgery, and that's just completely false. And so they're conflating gender identity. This is that term that's being woven into statute here in Michigan in so many different ways. It's now a protected right. They're conflating that with sex. And so there's this new pseudoscience that a lot of our institutions, our medical institutions, are hook, line, and sinker down the road. And it's wrong. It's terrible. Other countries are reverting. They're seeing the problems with it. And we need to nip this in the bud. But it's already been blooming for some time here, and it's harming children. Children are being maimed in the name of care.
Absolutely true. And look, many countries now have banned. I mean, the UK and other countries in Europe have said no to these powerful chemicals to anybody under 18. They've said no to surgery in a number of these countries now. So, what do you think the trend is? I mean, the trend is away from this. I mean, the trend is away from all of this nonsense. And the other thing that these people do not discuss are the detransitioners, right? They don't ever discuss detransitioning. They try to hide those facts of people that have gone through it and said, wait a second, I've ruined my life, right? That's the story you never hear. How come you don't get to hear those folks in Lansing at the Capitol?
Yeah. And we're actually in that moment. We had a detransitioner, Prisha Mosley. She lives in Big Rapids. She joined us on the House floor, and her story just doesn't get out there. She tells her story, and guess what the focus is on? People say, you're banning care. And this is just completely a falsehood. And the problem is with the media. The media is not highlighting, and that's why I'm very grateful for you taking the time to talk with me today, because the media is not talking about detransitioners. They're not talking about what this actually means and what this actually is. The biggest pushback I originally got on this was that, oh, this isn't happening. Children aren't being chemically castrated with Lupron. No, that's not going on. Recommendations for surgeries aren't happening. Prisha Mosley got a double mastectomy and was on testosterone, and it has harmed her irreparably for the rest of her life. And this is a story that when she talks to media, we actually had a reporter. She asked me, she's like, Representative Paquette, why do you care about this? And I was like, why do you not listen to this woman in front of me who just became a mom and hear her story? It's just heart-wrenching. And it's going on. It's happening at exponential rates with our young people today.
So how did we get down this path? Because to me, it's insane. Look, you can't, the parts are not interchangeable. The DNA is not interchangeable. The science is pliable to the left, but the science, look, this is basic biology, right? Biological dimorphism. There are differences between men and women, period. It's biological dimorphism. It is basic science. First grade science. Why are they arguing with this? I thought the people on the other side of the aisle were all about science.
Well, I actually had a Democrat almost co-sponsor this legislation this time around. I know a lot of the Dems don't want to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole because they know it's happening. They recognize the pseudoscience, and no one can defend this, once they get beyond the talking points. I think that this issue is a spiritual one, to be honest. There's this desire to transcend, biological reality, the understanding that, also you can escape your traumas or troubles. Prisha had gone through immense trauma when she was a young girl. She was raped, she conceived, and then she miscarried, and she wanted to escape that. And her doctors, these people that she should have been able to trust, said that, well, maybe you're a boy, and boys don't like their period either. So these children that are going through very uncomfortable times, obviously that's what puberty is, are being told they can escape that with prescriptions for powerful drugs that will harm them for life. And, so I think that it's clearly an evil push, and that it's a spiritual one, and it needs to be confronted directly and boldly and concisely. And that's what we're trying to do with the legislation that we've introduced.
Right. Well, I wish you well on this one because I think it's incredibly important, Brad. I do. I think it's incredibly important.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know if you're going to get traction from the left because they won't touch it, even though, you listen to people like Bill Maher and others that are, voices for traditional Democrats. They say, you've got to get away from this nonsense. And they do. Otherwise, you're never going to win an election. Nobody supports this, Brad. It's an 80-20 issue.
Well, the protege of Richard Dawkins helped us craft the legislation. His name's Colin Wright. He was on the left, an evolutionary biologist. There are some on the left that are waking up to this, and we need them.
Well, that's good news. State Representative Brad Paquette taking up the torch for children. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break and be back. Ivy's not too far away here on the Steve Gruber Show. I mentioned that I'm going to be at the White House the last week or 10 days of this month. I think it's 10 days, actually. I'll be covering the White House. I'll be in the press room. I'll be in there with Caroline Leavitt and so forth. One of the big changes since Donald Trump came back to the White House is the new media seat. It's kind of right there. If you look at the camera, it's kind of to the right of where Caroline Leavitt would be looking. It's just to the right there. And I bring that to your attention because it's not been received well by the traditional media, by the Washington Post, or the New York Times, or the big networks. They don't like it a bit. Because oftentimes the person sitting in that chair is a podcaster, an influencer, somebody who has a different take on the world than they do. Somebody who's willing to ask questions that don't line up with ABC and NBC and CBS. The new media seat is the brainchild of Caroline Leavitt, who felt the legacy media had a monopoly over the coverage, which she was right about. No seats were taken from anyone, as the designated seat to the right of the lectern is where House staffers or guests traditionally sat alongside of the James Brady press briefing room. And like I said, I'll be there for the last 10 days of the month. The seat filled by new and emerging voices who usually get introduced by Leavitt before being called upon for the first question of the briefing, that used to go to the Associated Press under previous administrations, but no longer. Some of the new media seats occupants, Axios' Mike Allen, Two-Way's Mark Halperin, longtime D.C. insiders who currently work for upstart organizations, while others like the Unbiased podcast host Jordan Berman wouldn't have sniffed the briefing room under previous administrations at all. The charade of inclusivity is all it was, a charade. Let's see. The Ruthless podcast host John Ashbrook occupied the seat in January and asked if the legacy media was out of touch with the border crisis. It is. They got eye rolls and smirks, but guess what? They're in the room. I'll be in the room. All right, I look forward to it. I'll be in the room soon enough. I'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you here. All right, here we go back into it now as we, well, you know, I'm living right. Obviously, I'm living right because Ivy's sitting here with a big smile on her face like usual. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm lovely. I'm so lovely. Yesterday was such a lovely day.
It was. 80 degrees. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Little sticky. Yeah, pretty good.
It's only May, right? So, yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah, I think it's going to be beautiful. It's just turning into summer, which is lovely because we get such a short summer here in Michigan. So it's nice to have some warmer temperatures for sure.
Well, it's not too bad. It'll be warm into October,
Yeah, sometimes.
June, July, August, September. We'll be all right. 6 months warm, 6 months cold. What do you got for us today there, Ivy? What's in your little bag of tricks?
So let me ask you, if you were going through a drive-through, you order your food, you get your food, you drive away, you take the stuff out of the bag, and what's written on there is the word help on the receipt and on the box. What would you think? What would you do?
Call 911.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, for sure. So this actually happened. A customer found help on their fast food order, and they didn't know what to do. So they actually ended up going home and then posting it on Reddit and saying, hey, what would you guys do if you saw that? Took a picture of the help written on
they
there.
can't even function enough to say, hey, maybe there's a problem, call the police.
Yeah, for sure. And say, what would you do? So there were literally, the post went viral, got 1 million different views, and it was actually a prank.
It was a prank.
It was a prank. So, but most people were like, why didn't you call 911 right away? At least if you don't know, at least then they can go and investigate it and make sure that everyone was okay.
Well, we live in a day and age, Ivy, where, you can see somebody being beaten, murdered right in front of you.
And
Nobody
people
steps in, they
videotape it.
Exactly. Oh, look, I'll get
They
clicks
won't call
on this.
911, but they'll videotape it for the purposes of sharing it online.
So they can get clicks. So they can go viral. So they can be
Unreal,
famous
right?
while somebody gets murdered in front of them.
Yeah, I think they could save someone's life or
strange
intervene
world,
or something.
Yeah, strange world.
Very, very strange. Speaking of strange, I actually saw this new series. I don't know, it's a documentary series on the Liver King. Have you heard about this?
Not, but I'm about to.
Okay, so it's allegedly a hilarious expose,
Liver
Tiger King.
All right.
But this guy, he's a fitness influencer online. He essentially talks about toxic masculinity and that you need to eat more meat, and he he eats a tremendous amount of genitalia from animals.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's apparently, I think we should tune into it because it's apparently pretty funny. But for many young men, I'm just reading off of this here. For many young men, masculinity is sold as an obsession with protein and personality that answers the question, what if WWE was real? And, there's this picture of this guy who's like super ripped, and he has like hearts and genitalia and all the stuff that he eats raw. And so he takes you through his life of how he eats, and apparently he also does steroids, and he's like, yeah, I'm super buff. Anyhow, thought you should know the Liver King.
The Liver King.
Might want to check it out.
Where can I not watch this?
I actually think it's Netflix.
Oh,
Yep,
cool.
Netflix.
Or is that Netflix?
Yeah, Untold, the Liver King.
They say he has ab implants.
Ab implants?
Like a fake six pack, like they're implants.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Is
kind of been.
That's a new one. I've heard of
Yeah,
I've heard of calf implants, but not six. That's
you
weird.
can get like a type of surgery to get it because it's
Oh
how
my
like
gosh.
when he moves, they don't move at all. Like they're just set in there. Basically, there's like a whole thing about it.
Oh my gosh.
Ab implants.
Interesting.
Now, why would you get calf implants if you got a lot of stored energy in front of it?
It's a fair question.
Liposuction and ab implants.
Let's see.
Nah, too expensive.
Right? Anyhow, how
He's
bizarre.
right. It's a thing. Here it is. Ab implants.
I just think, isn't it pretty crazy though, with
It
the
looks
links at which
gross.
people will go to look fit and do very strange things.
Yeah, I'm not getting ab implants.
But you know how I
Ivy.
feel about raw food. So I'm thinking, I'm just not into the whole, pull something out of a animal's body and just eat it right there. Although, I guess it is sushi, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at ab implants. What'd you ask me? I'm just shocked and mortified. I'm looking at ab implants, and this is a thing. And now I don't know that I'll sleep properly tonight because the photographs are. Anyway, I'm going to close this now. What was your question?
Just on raw food, how do you feel about eating a raw heart or raw genitalia?
No.
Or,
No,
but you eat raw
negative
fish,
on both of those.
So why not?
Brock's out. What do you mean, no? Why not?
Well, if you eat raw fish, you could eat or raw shrimp right
Yeah,
out of
and
the
now I
ocean.
have to do a parasite cleanse because of the raw fish. You know, what kind of weirdness do I get out? Look, I've seen these things. They take the heart out of the beast and they chew it like an apple. No, come on,
I
that's
was
silly
weirded
stuff.
out about people who ate raw eggs, even so, like big time.
Like Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky, the
even
movie.
that to me was really weird.
Yeah, I tried that a couple of times. I was not a fan. And as you
Ugh.
know,
It makes me sick to my
I
stomach.
love eggs, but that was like when I was 20 years old. I tried that. No, not eating raw eggs.
Huh. Yeah, I'm
How do you
not
think
into
Sister
that.
Sarah would take that? She doesn't like one speck of anything in her egg that's even
She
remotely.
likes it real crunchy.
Yeah, nothing moves.
Burn it.
Hey, the price of eggs is coming down. I was at a local grocery store, and 2 months ago it was $8. Now it's $7.
Oh,
What
there
a
you go.
deal! What grocery store still gets $7? I'll sell you eggs
Well,
for
there
cheaper
is a-
than that, bro.
There is something.
No, yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But in Michigan, I think that the egg prices are higher because they passed that rule that you can only have free ranging, and that's probably.
It's
Oh,
true.
cage free. Yeah, that's right.
You know, what eggs sell for in the supermarket? Ivy, you see it more than the supermercado.
I mean, I'm like $6-7.
Is it
$8.
still that high? I thought when we were in the northern compound, I saw them for like $4.85.
I don't know. I'm terrible at paying attention to.
But she
particular
doesn't. Here's
prices.
a little confession for Ivy. She doesn't pay attention to food prices. She told me that, by the way.
I should, but I don't.
Well, you said you never were. When we first met, you said, I'm not going to pay. If I think it's good for us and I think it's nutritional and it's something that we need, it's healthy, I'm not really going to look at the price of food too much. I mean, she's not going to get carried away. We're not eating caviar every day, nothing like that. But
no.
when it comes to fresh vegetables and fruits and so forth, you said, I'm not looking at that stuff.
Well,
You never have.
there were two things. Anything in regarding making sure that you have optimal health.
Yeah.
So anything that can help you achieve optimal health, I
Right.
think you should not go and buy things. For myself, I would rather not go buy fancy shoes or not go buy a fancy dress and
Have
and
better
have
food.
better food, or get a test, a blood test that can tell me if I have allergies, or a genetic test that can tell me
Trust
what
me.
I'm predisposed to.
Or more accurately, she could send me out to get me jabbed and get some blood out of me to see what I'm allergic to or not
Well, I
allergic to.
heard your comment earlier that you're willing to do
He wants
anything
to
for
slash
optimal
for
health.
vitality. Hold on here. By the way, egg prices as low as $3.79 at Kroger, according to Grok. Hold that thought, Ivy, while you're jabbing and stabbing and pulling blood out of me. We'll take a break. Ivy's still here. You know why? Because we get a double bonus round. That's why. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Tuesday. Welcome back. By the way, not just, and you're right about the egg prices, Ivy. They would be lower. 485 is what I see on the bottom end of the, no, excuse me, 389 is what I see on the bottom end of the range here. Gasoline, somebody's reporting $1.98 in southeast Michigan today on Grok. $1.90. So maybe Donald Trump wasn't
For
wrong
gasoline?
when he said, yeah, $1.98 a gallon. Grok said they're not sure. It seems unusually low. Could be inaccurate, but they do have gas at $2.88. And which we saw.
Send
We
some
saw
picture
gas.
evidence. Everybody will be lined up there.
We saw gas in the 280s right around here over the weekend. So that is happening. That's good news.
That's all good news. I
Yeah.
mean, let's bring prices down, get more money back in people's pockets.
So you can go spend money on food that you don't look at the price.
Exactly. My priority, probably not some others, and that's okay.
That's all right. Yeah. All right. So.
Did you hear about this David Hogg getting pushed out of the DNC vice chair?
He's out now?
They're pushing him out.
Well, he should get pushed out because he's lit the place on fire. I got to look it up now. But go ahead, tell me
But
more.
isn't
David
that so
Hogg.
great?
David
I
Hogg
think
is a
it's
guy
great.
that pretended to be at a school shooting, but he actually wasn't there that day in Florida, right? It's at Stoneman.
Well, he was a big anti-gun activist and still is. And then he is kind of risen up in the Democratic Party, and he was elected vice chair. And now they're pushing him out because he's asking a lot of questions, and he's saying, hey, let's primary Democrats that aren't on the same, radical agenda as the rest of us. And he'd like to have, AOC and those sorts of folks in every position. For
Well,
the
he wants to
Democratic Party.
primary, normal people. So a Democrat National Committee panel Monday recommended redoing David Hogg and Malcolm Kenyatta's elections to party vice chair as Hogg faces inter-party battles over his push to primary Democrat politicians. So they're going to try to get him out on a procedural deal, saying that his election was somehow procedurally wrong, right?
Right. Well, I just think that they keep digging themselves, the Democratic Party that is, into a deeper and deeper hole. They just are not at all in touch with the American people, what they want. And polling, actually it was Rasmussen, just came out and said, hey, Trump's at an all-time high for people that are in support of what he's doing.
That's
he is
right.
following the agenda that he promised the American people. And he's at an all-time high in regards to, people being pleased about his performance. So I think that they just continue to push back, and I'm hoping that will be seen in the midterms, is that maybe we can gain some more ground in the House, and that he has a bit more, even more power than he does to push through his agenda. So I'm actually interested. I heard this something about the big beautiful bill.
Yeah, what'd you hear?
That there's going to be some more. What was it? Some additional child tax credits.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
But
would
there was
not be
something else,
surprised.
and I apologize. I completely lost it there. But something interesting. I have to go look it up in terms of some more incentives for parents. But let's wait and see what's included here. I know that there are going to be some major tax cuts, which is good. But what is your take on it?
Yeah, I think the big beautiful bill is going to come by July the 4th. I think they're going to get a permanent extension of the Trump tax cuts. I think that some of the things that we've seen, like border security and other things that we're spending money on, will be codified and eliminated. So we won't be spending a lot of federal money on illegal aliens. I think you're going to see some of this stuff on pharmaceutical pricing, which we saw yesterday. By the way, Donald Trump reaching into Bernie Sanders' deck of cards and pulling out I'm going to cut pharmaceutical prices in half, pulling that card out of Bernie Sanders' hand. I mean, what Democrats, they're like, well, it's not codified. We don't really know how much he's.
I
They're
actually
all
just heard an
hyperventilating,
ad.
for God's sake.
I was taking our son to school, and on the local radio station, I was hearing an ad for a public seminar to discuss the possibility of what could occur for these cuts on Medicare. And it was, to me, a very fear-mongering commercial. It's like, oh my gosh, we don't know what's going to happen, but you can come and find out what you're going to lose. Like, what are you talking about? Doge is cutting all this.
By the way, it happened.
What's that?
It just happened.
What
the
happened?
DNC panel votes to void David Hogg's election.
I told you.
I mean, it just happened here in the last little bit. DNC panel votes to avoid David Hogg's election as Democratic vice chair.
The Democrats don't like outward.
How can you have an organization, a political organization, where they'll just crush dissent? You're losing on
that's what I'm
every
saying.
front.
The Democratic Party does not like public dissent. You can do it behind closed doors.
Not even then, really, but go ahead.
And I think that they do probably have negotiation behind closed doors. But if you notice, they all talk the same. They have the same talking points. They go out there and talk about the same things. And so when you have someone like David Hogg going out there and totally saying, I'm not walking in lockstep with you, they're just going to knock him out because they don't like that stuff.
More good news coming to my...
Talking about, fair...
Newsflash from our friend
Democratic.
Nick Hopwood. I have a newsflash from our friend Nick Hopwood here. Inflation down to 2.3%. Just came out. Inflation's down again. How long are they going to hold on to those high interest rates over at the Fed? 2.3%. It was expected to be at 2.4. It was 2.4 last month. And guess what?
You wonder to some degree what the Fed is holding on to because of political reasons, not because, that they should lower interest rates, that they're keeping it, high because they don't want to give Trump a victory. I mean, you wonder if that's actually happening.
Well, of course. That's exactly what it is. Jerome Powell is political, says he's not, but he is. Anyhow, things are better. Inflation's down to 2.3%. Unemployment's at 4.2%. Pharmaceutical prices are going to be coming down, whether the Democrats like it or not. They're just slack-jawed and glassy-eyed.
Well, I'm interested to see here in the next 6 months to a year what's going to happen with the cutting of spending, the investigations in Doge, and bringing, alignment back in terms of what you should actually be paying and what actually you should be spending, and bringing more money in from the tariffs.
$16.5 billion, a record last month for tariffs.
Right.
But of course, that's going to go away as I'll get these tariffs out of the way. But the stock market roaring. Anyhow, Ivy. Good stuff today. The stock market continued to roar today. Inflation just 2.3%. God bless America. Thank you, Ivy. Love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Right. mean, there it is, 2.3%. The inflation rate is in at 2.3%. The unemployment rate stands at about 4.2%. We'll see where the jobs report comes in for this month in a couple of weeks, but all indications are inflation's falling. It means the Fed's going to have to drop interest rates at some point. Jerome Powell can't hang on to this whole nonsense for much longer. That's good news. It looks like the markets are going to be up, although not much. Looks like the market's going to be up, not much, a little bit. Right now it shows the Dow futures down about 180 points, but the S&P is up, the NASDAQ is up just slightly, and I would expect that that's the way it's going to go today. Look, all of this good news, greed is driving the U.S. market. Remember how they're telling us in April, oh, it's the worst market ever? Worst market since 1932. Yeah. I'm not going to panic, all right? I'm just going to go ahead and sit right here and say, look, I'm just looking at all this stuff. Price of gas remains low, right? The price of eggs, as we talked about, coming down. The price of groceries, because the price of energy is low, it means that the price of groceries and goods and things delivered to your doorstep, all low, all good. And that means that it's good for all of us consumers. Meanwhile, Donald Trump right now is in Saudi Arabia, working on a Mideast trip, $1 trillion deal on the line for Americans. $1 trillion deal where he's trying to bring in $1 trillion more investment. It's his first major trip since re-election. And so, as you know, under the former President Joe Biden, relations with Saudi Arabia not good. He's going to Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. Is he going to accept a $400 million jet? I don't know. Big money, big expectations. Saudi Arabia might commit $1 trillion to the United States today. Wouldn't that be something? We'll find out. Fight the good fight and keep the faith, my friends. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, my friends, it's only you that can save America.